Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Goodcast Show. So my guest today, she's a lawyer with a focus on community development, family law, and child protection. She also provides consultancy work for setting up schools as well as teachers training and volunteers with local NGO child-centered initiatives. She works with many NGOs working with children and aims to assist in building their capacities through knowledge sharing and programs with the children concerned. She continues her quest for peace through her work in her collaborative law practice in Shah Alam, Malaysia, through her areas of family law, child protection, both in the civil and Sharia system as well. Today, we'll be discussing marriage and divorce in the Muslim world. So, without further ado, please welcome the lovely Ms. Aisha Zanariah Abdullah. How are you, ma'am?
Hi, Vidal. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Yes. And I'd like to big shout out to Sabria for making this happen. Yeah. Hi, Sabria. I heard a lot of things at the Rainforest Festival.
Yes.
No, I think let's first get to understand who you are. How did you get into law and focusing particularly in family law and the areas that you went on to focus in?
Right. I was a litigation lawyer for a few years, going to banks, going after people who owe money, working, going for the underdog. It wasn't, I had all the energy, etc. I would wake up in the morning and think, who am I going to beat today? I would drive past my car parking bay because I'm just focused on who am I going to win against today. So it went on for quite a long time. And then I got married.
Okay, congratulations.
They got married, and when the children comes along, and you thinking that, you got to face the judge next morning, the bailiff, your dispatch boy doesn't want to serve, so much contention, your clients don't want to pay, etc. You can't do that. I mean, some can. I can't do it well. Bring it home, and you have a child there. Okay? So I gave up practice as a litigation lawyer for a while. I then went on and just did affidavits at a law firm like a paralegal. So that's why I learned a lot about family law, civil family law, some Sharia at the time, and the nooks, and how to get about and learning the stories behind everything that happened before, after, and so on and so forth. And then I had more children. Got 5 in case you wanted to know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have 2.
Okay. So I had more children, and I thought that how can I deny them something that I myself would go all out for, which is to advocate for something. I advocated for my clients. I advocated for people who wanted me to win for them, etc. So I have children here of my own. Who else would be doing it except the parents? So I decided to make the children my work. And I studied about children, families, because I just wanted to be ready, prepared. Okay, I mean, a bit like when you want to study, I'm not sure, maybe you can ask your wife, but or whoever, friends, if you want to breastfeed, you got to be prepared. Even people telling you, oh no, you haven't got enough extra, you got to be prepared. So and even the legal training helped me. I got to be prepared for children. I see them as little brown packages, the pink ribbons, and so I prepared myself for them and did a lot of reading, and I realized that a lot of things helped me with the parenting and all that. So I went that way, and then more and more I got interested in human development, not just children all the way. And I realized that, what do humans want? They want to survive. They want to love somebody, care for somebody, loved and be loved, and they want to be accomplished. So all that in the environment that helps them be the great person that they can be. I learned a lot about as children. I mean, I learned a lot about when I was studying about children. So as they grew more and I saw young people, adolescents, etc., it was just very fascinating to see the drive in them, what resonated with them. And I just worked more and more with children. We do things like this. We've got alumni. I run a learning center. Yeah, I've got alumni students speaking, interviewing others, and just giving them a voice. So I find that really fascinating. And seeing how they can help build everything around. So it just went on, and it doesn't seem to stop. So I see myself as a child advocate and someone who less wants to help any other human being, whichever age. At the moment, my focus is actually on the aged care.
Yes.
Okay. I do something what we call, it's a philosophy called Montessori. Okay, and she did, for me, she did notice that the needs of the children needed protection. And she went back down to the basics of just showing respect for the children so that you could see them in terms of dignity. The adult and the child the same. You respect each other. But maybe in knowledge, the adults might have more experience, etc. But when you respect each other, then things will work out. And then it just went on and on and on, and then we worked on with the teenagers, the adolescents, and then, people think Montessori is only for little children playing. No, it's all about human development. So I've gone full circle. I've done 25 years in the Montessori education industry, at the same time running my law firm where I do mediation only.
Okay.
Mediation is to do with making peace.
Okay.
So, peace and education, that very much came from the Montessori part. And now I'm focused on helping people living in their old age.
Okay, interesting.
Because it's very similar. People in old age, they regress. And the sandwich generation, having to look after the oldest and having to the youngest. Now you've invested in the youngest and the oldest and make them independent and maybe monetize things for them. They wouldn't have to rely on the sandwich generation, and everybody will be a lot happier.
Yeah, definitely.
Many things I'm sure that you can do to help out. It's just whether you're effective or not.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I agree. I've always been curious about the legal system in the sense of, obviously there are differences, but what are the key differences between civil law and Sharia law? And in terms of your experience dealing with both branches?
Yes, of course. Well, civil law is all-encompassing. Okay, all members of the public, more or less, is covered by it. But obviously, if you're Muslim, then you'll be covered by the Sharia law. All right, and so to what is marriage in Sharia law and what's marriage in civil law will be different. You'll have to go and do a lot of Google searches to know exactly what, but the components of valid marriage in Sharia law and civil law are different. Okay. So, for example, in Malaysia, if you're by definition Muslim, you have to go through the Sharia system, and then you have to go through the procedures, registering here, there, and everything. So I'll just give you a bit of a, not too extreme example, but it happens all the time. Some people marry abroad, right, because they have to marry. But if you don't get it registered here, if you're Muslim and you don't get it registered here in Malaysia, then it's not recognized. So if it's not recognized, and if you have offspring, and then you want to live will and things like that, if your marriage is not recognized here, your offspring won't be entitled. So is that serious? Another example would be something like close proximity, right? So let's say the couple who marries abroad doesn't register here under Sharia law, only recognized as a civil marriage, so to speak, doesn't register here. So then they consider themselves married, so they are then in close proximity, they live together. That wouldn't be allowed. So the Muslim partner would get prosecuted for close proximity, but the non-Muslim will not, because he's not covered by Sharia law.
Okay.
A lot of aspects.
Exactly.
Finance, contract, adoption, a lot of aspects you have to look into it.
Now, you are someone who has also experienced working in divorce cases, right? In marriage and divorce cases, all that. And you said that in a call we had, you said that you prefer reconciliation as opposed to going entirely with divorce, or you like to bring the parties together and see how they can resolve it. Just from experience, and I would like to hear your thoughts on this. Why do you, in your experience, what is the common factor why most Muslim couples choose divorce?
Okay, many, and they're not uncommon. Okay, if things don't work out, all right, you have the best of all intentions. You get to know each other. You may or may not have dated or known each other well enough, but you just hit it off, and you said, okay, we want to do it, all right, and you get married, and then the rigmarole of the routine comes, your work, my work, this and that, and everything. You realize the true colors come out, right? It just doesn't work out. You can't even look at the other person. Okay, can you imagine living the rest of your life with this person? So actually, you want to go separate ways. It's permitted. So that's one. I wouldn't say it's the most reason, What other reason? Okay, really going into details here. Non-performance, if you can imagine what that means. Okay,
really?
On either side. Yeah,
wow.
If you don't consummate and can't perform, something along those lines, and you have to go real details. Okay? Don't hold me to it.
We understand what you
yeah, don't do this at home. Okay, go check your proper legal advisor later.
Yeah.
But essentially along those lines, it affects you. You thought you found the love of your life, you want to spend the rest of your life together, suddenly you can't, sleep together. So obviously that would be another reason. Many other reasons. I'm trying to save the best for last, but basically things like in-laws. It's all cultures.
All cultures,
all cultures, outlaws more than in-laws, right?
Outlaws
Okay.
in the marriage.
Yeah. So, I think for me, as you mentioned just now, I prefer the reconciliatory way where you can talk to each other. I mean, it's work, and life will change. It's easier said than done. I wouldn't say easy. I mean, sometimes you just hit a brick wall, and the compromise part is just close to impossible because neither wants to compromise, or they're quite set on it. Okay, and we can't do this. The problem is if you already have children, you have property. So it depends how much complications you want more in your life. If it's a simple thing, then if it's okay, go ahead. Better that you do your separate ways than you don't, then okay. I mean, some couples are better parents or better friends when they go their separate ways. Okay, right?
That's interesting though, because I've heard several divorce lawyers on YouTube. There's one I follow. I forget his name, but I've seen a few interviews of him, and he was talking about how when he divorced his wife, he realized that he was better friends with her than a couple.
Yeah.
Right. And now that she's married to somebody else who's the perfect match for her in terms of the way he is a doting husband, but he's not, because he's a lawyer, he's very fast and all that kind of stuff. Right? I'm sure you understand.
Yeah.
When you talk about reconciliation, have you ever had experience in turning couples around?
Yes, I have. They hadn't gone to such a great deep length whereby they then, point of no return and suddenly return. No, I haven't gone to that deep, but it's just as simple as giving an advice of saying, just leave everything behind, family, everything, just the two of you, just go for a cruise, a week stuck at sea, nowhere else to go, but to have each other. And I would do something as simple as that. And then when you finish, please come back and tell me what your plans are. Okay? This is one of the parties. And that was the case. I didn't hear from them again until I bumped into them at a wedding, happy. So I like to think that they reconciled because there was no one else very involved at the table. So yeah, for me, I feel it's just it's communication. No matter what, it's communication. Whether you want to have that communication merged as one. I mean, people say when you get married, you marry into the person and the family. So how much you want that merging to be interwoven depends on you. Depends on what's going to happen, the context of everything around you, your work, your children, your family, so on and so forth. So it depends whether you want to or not. What I do add is to ask my clients to try and get, and this is actually in Islam, it's recommended, you get a third party involved to see from a different perspective and comment on you. Because everything you see is quite subjective, possibly, and then you don't see it. Some people might say that you're not able to see other people's point of view, etc. But you hang on, it's my interest. I'm looking after myself, I'm protecting myself. But if you're not able to see the bigger context, I do recommend that you have another person to actually that's neutral. That's neutral in between. There's a family member who's able to talk to each other. So the problem is when there's no communication. Like for example, this is the example of having a third person getting involved and whatever. If that person himself doesn't want to because he feels cannot communicate with one of the other parties, so then that's quite tragic. Apart from that, I think that to persuade the couples, usually I tell them this is how much it's going to cost. Okay, we go to court. This is how much it's going to cost. No willy-nilly about it. This is what is going to be involved. Interview you, interview the children, interview witnesses, etc. There's going to be a lot of heartache and all that. So do you want to go through that much? Okay, and then depends whether the other side gets a lawyer. If that lawyer is not collaborative, then it's a bit difficult. So collaborative law is a practice that's slowly going through where they see the the benefit of being more human than litigious. So that's slowly growing, hopefully, because at the end of the day, our human tendency, and this is what the education part of me is saying, because our tendency is we do want to be human. We do want to reach out. We do want to connect. The more we connect, the stronger we get. So when you are able to get the couple to connect and see things through, then you say, okay, think about it and come back later. And then they realize, hang on, we did get married, okay? And it's a different aura when you are together. So at the end of the day, you're really thinking, hoping that your clients will rethink things, like leave your body for a minute and come back and say, hang on, what happened? And, how are we really wanting to go to the next step? Do you really, like, for example, in Islam, in Muslim marriages, they have this, what do you call it, this rujuk, after you divorce, within 3 months, you can reconcile. After the 3 months, you can't, you have to marry someone else, etc., etc. Okay, so when you decide you want to reconciliate and all that, you really have to think about it. Some parties is once bitten, twice shy, and they're like, oh no, it's done. Don't think I could ever. But some parties think, hang on, think about it. Got children, got property, this and that. Can we? It's a different thing altogether, a different level. Are you willing to do that? So, you asked me to maybe compare Sharia and civil. I think the issue is a lot different. You have, I was going to say just now, saving the best to last. Polygamy is a big reason, one reason why couples cannot stay. Okay, but some would want to stay on for the sake of having the marriage, having that emergence, and not to say tolerating, but accepting another person in the family. Some can do it.
I have the perception that if one stays with their partner for the sake of the children, it's sort of synonymous with saying that, tak apalah, we just deal with it lah for the sake of children. But am I right in thinking that, or is that actually, can the children then become the sort of stepping stone to a better marriage?
It's quite possible, because maybe they might have more children to try and salvage the marriage, right? And the children having witness what's been some friction going on, and they realize what's going on. They may or may not want to step up, and they become more mature and try to help out and understand, empathize. Children a lot, I don't say a lot better than adults, but they're very sensitive radars. They know. The more you try and hide anything from them, especially the younger ones, the more they know. Okay?
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, really. They can know whether you've been in a room or not. By just coming into the room and realizing, and they know what mood you are. I mean, child development is something that is amazing, and with children, they make a real factor. So what I do is, when we're reconciling with a couple, if you're working with another collaborative lawyer, or we put pictures of the photos of the children, while you have the lawyer and the client, and the lawyer and the other spouse there. Okay, and they put pictures of the children, so that when they're talking and negotiating, they have the children in mind. Then I find that really helps. It changed a lot. I mean, you can just say, like, a lot of people like to, it's quite easy. It's like the keyboard warrior version. You just type, but with your mouth. Okay lah, tak apalah, buat saja lah, right? But actually, when you're doing it, what goes on in your mind, the process, you might what's the word? Get used to it. Actually want it. And so on and so forth. It's, at the end of the day, what you really want. Usual adage, how much you put into it is how much you get out of it. It doesn't matter which part of the marriage you are in the beginning, middle, and what you want to call it. I'm talking about how long you've been together. I mean, I've got friends, couples, 30, 40 years together, and I know they had ups and downs. I know a lot of stories. We all have stories, and I'm like, wow, would I have stayed on if I was her? So it really, really depends. I think those who really want to go through the whole range of it, as you can see, you see really cute couples, especially in America, right? They're very old and they're still together, like 60, 70 years together. You think, well, can I do that? Actually, you can, if you wanted to, right? So when you talk about what makes really, in Islam, in Muslim marriages, what do they go through that they want to divorce so much? Is one, they just, as I mentioned, they just can't. They just wake up and think, no, sorry, mistake. Okay, and then you have the many other factors. I mentioned in-laws. You also have how things work out, careers. that sort of thing. How people see you. I mean, I've seen a lot of marriages, not a lot of marriages, but the most recent ones I'm still trying to get my head right around on is a lot of these IG marriages. They know each other through IG, they get to know each other, etc. Everything is broadcasted, everything, and they have the need to do that. And I thought, wow, I think everybody else in the whole world knows the couple more than they know each other, because it's so intimate what they care to expose on the internet to them. So that's a complete different ballgame altogether compared to the couple from, the white couples from US, UK who've been together for 70, 80 years, whatever. It's complete different ballgame whatsoever. You see them sitting down, walking hand in hand, feeding each other. They can barely move, and they're still doing it. Tries to climb the curb, right? Can you imagine the IG married couple? Something like that. I don't know. I think it's a different mindset completely altogether, and it's very difficult to anticipate things or reflect or ponder on it unless you can empathize and go into their shoes and see what they see, feel what they feel, and hear what they hear. Everything. And I'm not saying just like this. This I feel from my work with children. I found that, you could empathize with them and really know what they're going through. Like they say, for example, Daddy, my toothpaste is so pedas, it's so hot, I don't want it, and tantrum, cry. And you say, nothing, you didn't do it, whatever. But did you actually try it? Taste it? And imagine their gums are how much more tender and all that. Are you willing to really empathize and see what they go through, So I think when you're having some sort of relationship, whether it be teacher, child, mother, son, couples, brother, sister, that communication is not just talking, it's really being able to feel what they see and feel and hear and all that, So when the communication is not there, then it will cause that breakdown of the marriage.
Over these past few weeks, because MUZZ is the client and they sponsored a few episodes, I've been talking to a lot of people on this topic of marriage, right? And of course, being married myself, but I'm not so old. I mean, I think we're married for a few years. I can't remember the number, but
Okay.
I remember years. I'll edit this part out.
Yes.
I tend to sometimes, while I'm asking a question and the person is answering, even in your case, I'm sort of doing a bit of reflection on my marriage, right?
Yes.
And I feel that element is not exist in existence today, because most of us have the very me life. Everything is me. We all live in boxes, right? Whereas in previous generations or in past, you always had maybe family members, avuncular figures who can come and give a words of wisdom to help you on. Do you think that's the contributing factor to why we sort of have reached this situation where even among Muslims, divorce is becoming ever more apparent?
Yeah. I think that me factor is a huge thing. Okay. By the way, it's called egocentrism.
Okay.
It's from the baby, from birth. It's very difficult to shake it off. Naturally, it will come, as you say, when there are more people around you. They offer other kinds of points of view, etc., etc. But I think in the past, decade or two or so, everybody's really realized their voice and know that they don't want to lose out. If there's an opportunity, they will go for it, and they will voice and they will say it. And then now, all the more with the digital platforms and devices, everything they can have access to, all the more they will want to do it. Me, my voice. I mean, WhatsApp, for example, is a wonderful communicative tool because I speak first. You cannot say anything until I finish, and then you speak, right? And then I speak and speak. Actually, that's a very peaceful way of having communication. We call it peacemaking in the education line where I do it. We actually have something like a peaceful a dove or flower, and it's like the conch in a lot of the flies. Is it like a lot of rings?
A lot of the flies.
Okay, I speak first. I've got the conch. Okay, I don't like it when you look at me like that. It makes me feel very uncomfortable. I need you to stop looking at that. Please stop it. Okay, then you speak and you say, I'm looking at you like that because there's something that goes on. All right, so it's one other. So I think with that, people want to be able to have to say in real life, like right now, you and I respect each other. We're doing something, that we take turns speaking. But if you go to a coffee shop nearby, or anything, you know what I'm saying? I think given the choice, if we had a way whereby, okay, whoever follows the rules, you get 100 ringgit something, maybe they make an effort or something like I speak first, then you first. But otherwise, people just like to want to have their say. They call them, as I say, keyboard warriors when you're on the keyboard and when you can speak in real life, right? It's a bit difficult if you haven't been brought up that way to say that let's have equal rights or opportunity to speak. Okay, so when they say me, then it is difficult. I mean, for example, lockdown, COVID, we just everywhere we looked, it's just you. What about me? Okay, and then I don't want to speak, I don't want to say anything, but then it will wear off somebody in the family because you stuck together. You're going to have to talk to each other. I mean, I do advise in my work as an education consultant as well. I advise the families to have family meeting and just talk to each other. Take turns. What are your complaints? What are your suggestions? This and that. But always remember that this in real life. You and I, we all have work. There's no magic wand to make it hotter. Mommy, I'm hot. Or magic wand to say, there's food when I'm hungry. Our children, we need to help them to feel a bit more mature. So when they do that, they become less egocentric and realize that the best for everyone, I feel, is that when you give as much, you're as positive as much, it comes back. It comes back to you when you're not looking for it, you're not asking for it, etc. So with marriages, if you're too thinking about yourself alone, then you will get into the danger of suddenly being employed somewhere abroad, here and there. You don't know how to deal with other people, right? You don't have any practice. You only think about yourself, etc. So if you're able to persuade your friends, your family, your children, your grandchildren, whoever, that when they speak, it's for other people to listen and to maybe think and reflect. And you might have an impact on that, and that your voice is valid, your opinion is valid. It's just a matter of being moderate, being respectful, and everybody playing along those lines. So I think that can happen if we made it a habit, but understandably, in this way of life, I mean, look at how you drive in KL, right? Survival of the fittest, right? My middle boy, he's, he'll go all out. So, I mean, if we're both driving together, he's got his GPS, he wants to go one way, I want to go another way, a safer way, he wants to go, so it's like, again, his egocentrism and my egocentrism, and we got to have a middle line. So how do we get the middle line? We got to talk to each other and be prepared to compromise. Okay, this time, why don't we go my way? Not my way and the highway, but we go this way. Let's go to Coastal Road. Coastal Road, less traffic. Okay? Next time, we can go on that way. And you're going to keep yourself bound to it. Go on the coastal, or go on the other road another day, even though the Google says it's all red, because your child wanted to try it. Okay, so sometimes people have to learn through experience. And when they experience too much of me, for me, I find the tendency is that they won't feel good. They're like, you're saturated. What about me? What about others? It's a human tendency. This is what I studied in child development, that human development is such that their tendency is you do want to help, you do want to share, you do want to be happy, you want to be joyful, you want to be independent and not dependent on others. You want to survive and participate and all that. Those tendencies actually is all enshrined in the human rights. They call it rights because it's threatened by others. There's war, there's famine, there's inequality, etc. With children, there's conventional rights of the child. They have a right to play. They have a right to play with anybody they want to play with. They have a right to, healthy food, the right to learn, all of that. And because we don't value those rights. There's so much going on terribly for the children, abuse, neglect, etc., etc. So you have to enshrine it in the law, right? So this law has become, because of how society has come to the stage whereby they think about only themselves to the detriment of the others. Whereas best of all is to be nurtured and brought up in such an environment whereby it's best to give others not to detriment of yourself, but for the public good. When the public good is the most general, the majority of their interests is well balanced, not threatened, that's the best. Right? I mean, there's 4 of us in this room. We respect each other. We can do whatever we want, etc., etc. But if I did something that will threaten all the three of you, right? That obviously means that I'm not doing that something for the public good. The majority of public good is you go along the way that will benefit everyone. So to think that way means to think less of yourself, but you can think more of yourself, whether you can empower yourself, you can do all those activities and all those words that will help other people. So that ability to realize your feelings. Even some people cannot have a sense of their body. It's called proprioception. I can never say it properly. But if I put my hand here, do I know my hand is here? If I wave my left eye, do I know it's the left or right? That is natural, but some people can't do it. So same with feelings. Am I upsetting somebody? Actually, you think, no, I haven't said anything wrong, but actually that person is very upset, that sort of thing. That sense of consciousness and all that, that means that you don't only know about yourself, you must know about how you affect others. So we do less and less of that, sadly, because we don't communicate each other. I do fear, and I talk to my children. The youngest is 15, the oldest is almost 27. Even my the younger two, and they're still in their teens, I talk to them as if they're 10 years older, and I say, I really hope that, your children, when you have them, that you will talk to them because of what's going on in life over here all the time. I mean, I grew up, I'm sure you were the same as well, where we just sat and conversed at the table.
Yeah.
And now it's a device. It's taken the place of the parents engaging, and it's rather sad, because the ability for the child to live without the device right now is hovering on a dangerous level where they're not able to. Okay? What we call it, again, I'm sorry, it's a bit of a lecture, it's called executive functions. Are you able to restrain doing things that will not be good for you or others? Okay, are you able to restrain yourself? Are you capable, and you can feel yourself, I really want that cookie. I know I've had dinner and I've brushed my teeth. I really want it, But can you restrain? Can you do that or not? Can you control yourself? That capability of you talking to yourself and realizing yourself and knowing the impact and effects on what happens next, what happens to the family, no more cookies left, whatever it is, thinking of others, that is lessened more. So I think if people are more, even if it's just a couple, a small family, etc., they make things matter. Just wake up in the morning, okay? Even let's say you don't have a job, so to speak, as in a 9-to-5 job employee, you have your own, etc. You need to, put yourself into the mood of like, I've got something to achieve today. First thing you do is like, make your bed, right? Something like that. I've got something to achieve. I get out of bed and all that. So same with the relationship. Whether it's a sibling relationship, couples relationship, etc., you want things to work. It matters. So that feeling of it mattering, okay, can you do it on your own? Do you need a cheerleader outside? Do you need a third party saying, hey, you're doing good, etc.? Of course, everybody likes it and wants it. They like a pat on the back, they like encouragement, But in order to be able to acknowledge that and understand that, you need to know how you are feeling and how you impact others.
Yeah.
So the impacting on others thing, I think people are not paying enough attention on, because it only happens when the bubble bursts, right? Rather than practicing talking to each other. I'm sure you've heard that fathers should take little daughters out for dates and say, this is how a gentleman behaves. So if you're look for someone like that, something along the line, mother and cooks with the son and say, okay, you like this kind of food, you can slowly tell your intended that, you don't like batter, you just like boiled things or whatever it is, but they have to talk to each other, not the mother then talk to the future in-law. What's the point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think for me, communication is just the most important, and sincere communication, and really believe that you are important. So important that people are relying on you, depending on you, just like how you're relying on that person. It takes two to tango.
Right. You have experience with children. You work a lot with children, and one aspect of divorce that I feel is never focused on, especially from the adult's perspective, right? Because I've been in conversations where whenever a couple gets divorced, it's always about them.
Yeah.
It's not about the children, right? And I think what you're talking about when you put the children's picture there, I think, and this is just my opinion, I think a lot of couples who divorce, don't really know the damage that decision is going to have on the kids. Now, personally for me, when my parents divorced when I was 17, and when I look back at my life, now I'm 40, when I look at my life then, I went through a lot, right? But we came from a different time when these topics were not really discussed. Nobody knew, they just, people always think, no, the adults are the one. But I always believe, because I've read books, but they'll say that the biggest losers are the children.
Yeah.
In your experience working with children, what are the impacts that a decision to divorce can have on them?
Of course, huge impacts. Because essentially when you say, the parents say it's all about me, right? Actually, in law, both for me, Islamically and in civil, it's not the right of the parent. It's the right of the child to the parents. They have a right to the parents. The parents made them. So it's not a right separately. Right to dad, right to mom. It's right to them together as parents. Okay? So let's say, for example, visitation. Okay? One spouse says, oh, no, I can't see them this weekend, please. Okay? But the child has been looking forward to it. All right? So when you are going to consult something, for example, the child's been looking forward to it, especially younger children, obviously. I mean, break the news slowly to them, not through the mom or whichever way the mom says she can't make it or whatever it is, slowly to the child. The child cannot straight away adjust and give reasons, not to say justify. I mean, things happen. In real life, things happen. If you're a doctor, I don't know, something happens, you have to be on call, and if your child has grown up in that context, then they know what to expect. Okay? So it has huge impacts on that. So in other words, that as soon as a child gets involved in your life, communicate with them right from the beginning. Even though they're little babies, and you think, no, what can they understand? No. I mean, I've studied child development so much that the more you talk to them, and don't talk to them in babbling baby voice, that's how they'll turn out talking. I mean, it's just common sense, right? So the more you involve in them, you get them involved, the more secure they feel, this connection they have with you, etc. So, you get married nicely, you have a lovely place, you have a house, have children, whatever. Now you want to undo that. What's wrong with you undoing it nicely? Okay? Give the children some notice. I mean, to explain to them, that's as much as you want to explain. If you have to go your separate ways, you have to go your separate ways. Okay? But if as much as possible, don't pinpoint it's his fault, it's her fault, no, as much as possible. Okay, they're their parents for life. They'll always be their parents. Will always be there for them, etc. But if you're going to undo things, it means, for example, okay, we're not going to have ballet classes anymore because mama can't afford it. The papa used to pay for it, etc. So slowly ask the father to speak to the daughter, son, whoever was doing the ballet, okay, and say that is this going to slowly happen, and we're sorry for this. Maybe we can do something instead that is meaningful between you and papa or whichever, get them involved as much as possible. And if there's going to be a change of lifestyle, I always think that if you are prepared to do what you want your child to do, it cushions it for the child. So if a child suddenly has to spend half weekend, 2 weekends at home with a parent in care and custody, and another half in the other home with the other parent who may or may not have remarried, etc. Okay, so there's a lot of packing involved, a lot of clothes here, clothes there, etc. You can't just tell your child, make sure you have enough clothes, just go. Okay? Even though the child is a teenager or whatever, get involved, and you pack them up. Oh, where did you get this T-shirt from? Oh, Papa got it for you. Oh, your stepmother? Oh, it's very nice. Whatever. Show the extent to which you're accepting the child in the new context. So you cushion it. So children, I mean, it's a little bit like, the walker later at the airport, right? And you're walking and you're going fast, and suddenly you go without the walker later. So there's a change in speed. You feel that, right? For adults, we can adjust easily. But the child, you can't. You go at one speed, suddenly you stop, they need an adjustment. The more you adjust with them, the more that their natural abilities are able to deal with things, the more their mental health and wellness will be okay as adults.
I'm just curious one thing. When I think when you talk about spending time, this weekend I'll spend with my father, this weekend and all that kind of stuff. I've seen that. I think for me growing up, what one of the things, I don't know, could it be a benefit or reason why I sort of came out of it less scarred, would be that we just stayed with my mother.
Okay.
right? And my father was away, and because he was working the estates, it's not his fault. It's just his job was that such and all that. But does that system work though, where I, as a child, now have to like juggle the week between two parents? I'm constantly reminded every week that my parents are separate because I have to go here, and then on weekends I go here. So I'm going there because they're separate now. I have to go. I mean, is that the right way to do it?
Well, what is the right way? Okay.
Not get divorced, I guess.
I mean, as good, there's no competition to be the best parent, but of course we have to be the best that we can be. Okay, but as the best parents, would I send my child away at 6-year-old to a residential school away for 6 months? Would I do that? In their mind, they might say that's the best thing for the child, right? What is the right way? So, with your example, I wouldn't know how to justify. I wouldn't want to justify, etc. But I think children, they're quite malleable. They can adapt if they give good reason. They're always given a feeling of being valid, and saying that, for example, if Papa has to work abroad, that's the only way he can bring in kind of income. We want to give you good education, etc., etc. So again, children, we want them to go towards maturity. So they have to have real life experiences. Okay, it might be difficult in the beginning, right? But with encouragement and communication. So that's the tough part. If the parents are not talking, the parents can't communicate, or they do it like not in a very good way in front of the children, then it does impact them. How it impacts them really depends. It might not be obvious at the time, depending on the child's capability. It might surface when they're older. Their mental health when they're older. Right?
How so?
Well, I mean, as adults, maybe they're not able. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm just giving examples. Maybe they're not able to look at you in the eye when they're talking, because what happened when they're younger, for example. Okay, they're not able to be sincere and mean what they say. Okay, or they're not able to talk or communicate. All these tendencies that people that humans really want to do, are able to do, is been discouraged when they're younger. Like you say, boys don't cry, for example, right? They've been discouraged. Boys don't cook, for example. Okay, it will impact them because children, all human beings, we all go through in a way of what is known as the natural order, whatever you want to subscribe to. But if you interfere, put too much fertilizer, clip their wings, whatever it is, as you prune the trees, etc., it will come out different. Not the natural way that they want to be. So that's why you hear a lot of cases whereby the parents, they know generations of the whatever family have been doctors, and you are going to be a doctor, and the child grows up and comes out with a degree and literally throws the certificate back to the father. Here's your degree that you wanted me to get, and goes on and becomes a punk rock band player. It's true, it's happened.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, they say not all fish climb the tree. I mean, I say fish don't climb trees, but some smart children will say yes, some do climb trees, like the mud skippers. They do climb the trees, and those. So what I'm saying is, you can find their strengths, what they're interested in, and see how can you meet halfway. You love F1 so much, but your parents want you to be a doctor. Fine, join the F1 team, and travel the world and be their medical doctor. Something along those lines. Give them hope. Give them possibilities. So in the marriage as well, with the children involved, with the couples, just because you go in separate ways, wonderful thing for children especially would be that there is still hope in things. And the best is if you can talk to each other. If you can talk to each other on a civil form, civil level, that's fine. But if you can do more than that, it'll be good, obviously, But you do what you have to do, etc. Then the children also will just learn. Okay, this is the extent to which I need do as a father or need do as a mother. They will learn that. They will learn from you all the time. So
even when you don't know, they're learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They got this innate power. So I'm going back into this child development things that I discovered. I studied as a parent. I want to know the inner outer things about children. They've got this innate power that none of us have as we grow older. This sensitivities, this absorbency, and that moves them, fuels them, and if you know about it as a parent, you know that okay, your child's not going to be a ballerina, or he wants to be a ballerina, and you want him to do something else. If you know their tendency and then you guide them in such a way to bring out their best potentials, that's the best. Not all will fit the mold of school, of getting a white collar job, etc., etc., but they will still have their strengths. And one wonderful thing it will be, like for example, Datuk Nicole David, look at how much she surpassed everybody because of parental support, right? All these people, they're known. You
There's so
spot.
many examples.
Yeah, you spot where they resonate, and the parents go along, and support, etc. I mean, that's the best. At the same time, we hope that children also, as they grow older, and their parents grow older, and they see what resonates for their parents. No, I want peanut butter, not jam. And they hope and understand, and will flow along and play along. Then the communication is there. Everybody will still understand that it's not a bed of roses, etc. And that all families are different, all children are different, and all that. So when you say, is it necessarily good? I mean, all around the world, as you know, for China, for example, they don't see the parent at all, right? They're working in some cities, etc., and then they send money back, and it happens, right? Of course, it will be the best that they are physically together, but that doesn't happen all the time, not. And when it doesn't happen, children need to get used to it, and as young adults, etc., and all that, and they have to learn that the only way to make it work is they make the effort to make it work. How? Speak to each other. How can I, Papa's coming back next week. What can we do to make him happy? Do you hear children doing that? So you plan something. Not much. Not really. They're all, bury their nose in either schoolwork or in their devices, right? The devices is dopamine. Loading. You have to find a dopamine equivalent in real life. And the best is, of course, we always advise parents is that one-to-one, that connection that you have, and you have something together, you go together, get stronger and stronger, etc. And you never know when a child does have that effect on a parent, that they might change your mind and say, okay, let's give it a try.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I want to take it back a bit to couples.
Yeah.
Since we are talking, this episode is sponsored by MUZZ. Besides not communicating with one another, or I think before we go to that, I asked this question to my previous guest, Professor Tajuddin.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I asked him, what should modern day Muslim men, for example, look for in a woman, right, to happy marriage? And he comes from he's an old school guy, so obviously he said, you know what? He said he married his wife because she looked like Rose Yatima from the P. Ramlee movie,
Okay.
and that's it. And then they made it work. And I think that's the difference between couples from before.
Yeah.
They get together and then they make it work.
Yes.
Today's modern philosophy is, I want to meet Mr. Right so that I think that will make it work. Not I make it work, but the meeting makes it work, right?
Right.
So in your opinion, you are married, you have children and all that. What should Muslim men and women look for in their partner?
Well, apart from the obvious, the obvious is, why do you get married? You want companionship. That's one.
Yeah.
Second is there are human tendencies or urges that you can't control that you want to be able to express. That's one. And the third one, maybe you want to have a family. Okay? So in the first place, hopefully your partner or potential partner will have that same sort of values, same sort of intentions and all that. So how do you do that? You communicate, you talk to each other, etc. So you say, what was your kind of modern Muslim man to look for in the modern Muslim woman?
Yeah.
Modern Muslim man. And somebody said that if somebody said that in the 1900s, modern Muslim man, and then what? 1940.
Is another
modern Muslim man?
Yes,
Right. So, what is the modern Muslim man? I think basically you go back to, if you go back to the books, to go back to the resources, what it is. At the end of the day, I think if you want something out of this union, again, like I said to you, I wouldn't ask a child to do something unless I'm willing to do it. I wouldn't ask a partner of mine to be that person that I want him or her to be, or to act out that behavior or personality that I want him or her to be, unless I'm willing to do it, right? So, like, I want you to stop smoking or stop eating fried foods, etc. Even though I'm not a smoker, for example, would I be able to do that? Would I be able to feel that and empathize and understand? Oh, I got to, put so much effort on to stop eating junk food, etc. Would I be able to do that? Okay, I mean it's difficult to imagine, but okay, for example, it's like, okay, you want your kids to eat more vegetables and stop eating chocolate. Would you do that? Or when they're asleep, you're stuffing your face with Kit Kat and stuff, right? when they when they're not looking,
You just described me
yes.
in my household.
You know what I'm saying? So what are you looking for in a partner? I think you'll be making a huge mistake if you're asking the partner to be able to solve everything. As you were saying, that from the marriage, from the union, it will solve everything. No, I think what you need to look for is probably best exercise, they say. Write down a few personalities that maybe you'd like in a person, which I feel you must be able to do yourself. Okay? You like to see in a person, I don't know, timely, itinerant, neat, etc., what have you. Okay? And then instead of giving it to that person, can you be that person first? Because, like children, if you want them to be a reader, not to eat chocolates, etc., you got to be the best example. So if you want your partner to be the kind of person that you'd like her or him to be, then you yourself need to emulate that. And I really do believe in that, because we've got this energies, right, amongst us, and you can feel it, aura, whatever you have it, And I think that connection, if you don't feel it, you don't have it, don't talk about it, that oneness of you, I don't know how else to explain it, the redness of that curtain. Okay, if that oneness of you, if you can feel it and you can work on it together, good communication, not to say compromise, but let's work on it together. Like, you trying very hard not to eat junk food anymore, so you also don't eat junk food, right? Make the effort together. So to really.
But is a successful marriage? Is it true what they say that it's 50-50, where I do this, you do this? Is that the way that we should go about it?
Sometimes it might be. I mean, I think it depends on what kind of, whether you're a STEM person, a science, math, and calculating person, and whether you're an abstract person who can just understand an expression, how you can blend and gel together. And let's say you are the arty person and I am the calculative person, for example. If we agree to accept they were different, let's see how we can still gel together for the sake of ourselves and of children and family, so that we can still bring the strength out of each other. For example, I mean, some couples say, okay, you take charge of the loans, the cars, the houses, etc. I'll take charge of groceries, the kids' tuition, etc., etc. They do that, for example, 50-50. I think fine, but stick with it. And things change. Cost of living goes up. Be reasonable, right? Whatever, interest rates goes up, and just things that have to be set in stone right from the beginning. I mean, that's not what marriage is, 1995, and then 20 years later, are you supposed to be exactly the same? Look at what happened in the last 2 decades. Did you have a smartphone then? No. The smartphones revolutionized the whole world. When I was practicing, the way that they had one say, one after each other. There's one case where they had this couple, they could only talk to each other through the whiteboard. They had a whiteboard in the kitchen, a blue marker and a red marker. And the husband will write down, go off and do his work, and the wife will come back and look in and read and answer, and it will go on. They never talk to each other. Of course, it ended up in divorce, They couldn't, and we had to do the talking, the lawyers had to do the talking. We had to reduce what we saw on the whiteboard into affidavits and present it to the judge to see the merits of divorcing according to whichever, what they asked. Whether they were irreconcilably, couldn't come back together again, or because somebody was at fault or whatever it is. So in those days, they still had that. See, the tendency to want to communicate. People still want to communicate. They have to. Okay, but it depends on this egocentrism, whether you're able to put it away and recognize that you're the arty person and I'm the calculative person, and that how can we make it together? Because at the end of the day, put that aside, okay? Put aside the art, put aside the numbers, etc. Do we still want to be with each other? Would you want to be alone? Right? So, I mean, I always think that if you really, really don't want any heartache, etc., whatever, then learn to live by yourself. Yeah.
But I mean, that's interesting that you say that, because earlier on you were talking about how in every marriage there is ups and downs, and that that entire experience of having to write out your thoughts or your what you want to communicate on a whiteboard could be perfectly used to symbolize a down, rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
Is divorce the right answer then? Because should any low point in a marriage just be looked at as, okay, this is just a down, this is just a thin moment in our life, but we can overcome it?
Yes.
It should be that, right? I feel.
Ultimately, yes. I mean, but there's no, okay, for the Muslims, we have this kursus kahwin, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know about in civil law with the other religions.
No,
I've heard like maybe in Christianity they go for classes, etc.
Hindus,
whatever.
no, yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, exactly, there's no one who teaches us what's the best. Right, what's the best values? We can see only when our parents have emulated it and we follow, or people in the environment, the family, etc., etc. So who's to say that you are completely right to say that it's rock bottom and we must overcome it? Okay, because at the end of the day, it's like saying that that's a general principle and everybody must go through this. They must overcome it. Okay, so essentially, it depends. To overcome it, what do you need? You need resilience. You need to be what's the word? The opposite of narcissistic. Okay, what is the opposite of narcissistic? Was there a word for it? I don't know.
Humble.
Okay, okay, yes.
That's
so
a good question. I actually don't know what the word is. Now you've distracted me. I'm
sorry. Yeah, so you need to be equipped to be able to overcome that. All right, and then some people, they don't have the stamina. They say, or the ability to live and feel a moment of uncertainty. Can you? Some people can't. Say, no, I just need, it is black or white, and they have to go on. Okay, because let's say, okay, for the sake of the children, I carry on, but my health suffers because I think about what the other person's done all the time. And then is it good for the children to grow up with a suffering parent, for example, because the parent's not equipped to be able to overcome that mentally and all that, or doesn't have help? Or the one spouse says, you want to carry on this marriage, so you have to be strong, I have to carry my work. It's not going to work. Again, communication. So, of course, at least giving it a try, whether people, everybody should know that or not, that is quite subjective, okay? And even if everybody does know, do they want to? Okay, I mean, of course, old school, it will be wonderful, it will be lovely, everybody hunky-dory, etc., right? But during COVID, especially amongst the Muslim marriages, the highest rate of divorce, they just couldn't take it living with each other, seeing each other
understand
all the
that.
time. For me, I feel, again, it's just an opinion. I feel that if you're able to communicate more, right, and have an understanding, and then inshallah, you should be able to, like, for example, you have sullen teenagers, right, and you say, you can't talk to you. You don't understand, Mama, Papa, you don't understand. Okay, let's talk about something that we can understand. Okay, I just want some of your attention. Okay, let's talk about, I don't know, what is this? This rainbow cake. It's a fad. It's everywhere. I don't understand. Can you tell me? Does it taste good? And just have a conversation, that sort of thing. So starting out with that, when they see that you are trying, etc., so if the marriage goes down and all that, the children could be the saving grace as well and say, you've always asked me to try hard. Can we see you try hard? Mama, Papa. Best is, of course, it's not easy. If you ever have an argument, a difference of opinion, spouses, argue in front of the children. I mean, not to say it's your fault and be angry and be abusive, but argue in a civil manner. You speak first, then the other person. Okay, Mama and Papa, we don't agree in having 2 extra dishes. Okay, so you talk first and all that. So the children learn how to talk. But if you're screaming and ranting and bringing in everything under the sun that's irrelevant and things like that, that's how they learn as well.
Interesting that point. I heard from another, he's a psychologist, I'm sure you know him, Jordan Peterson.
Okay, yes.
And he said this one thing, because, growing up, you always think that that you should not fight in front of the kids. You always hear this, right? So what he said was quite interesting. He said that it's okay to fight in front of kids, but you have to make up in front of them. So that way they tend to see the entire spectrum of human emotion. So they know, okay, this is life. You'll fight, but you have to make up at the end, right? That's more true, right?
True. We call it in Montessori the complete work cycle. Okay. I mean, everything. You take out a chair, you put it back in. You open the door, you close it. It's the decent thing to do, right? So if you're going to fight, make up for it. So they see the whole thing, how to do it. It's a bit like This I have a bit of beef with Lego here. Lego has a book to tell you how to build something, but they don't tell you. Sorry, Lego. I hope there's no lawsuits against me. But they don't tell you how. They don't show the children how to put the things away. It's not the complete thing. So that's why you have Lego half broken, Lego pieces here and there. You're stepping on it, etc. They don't show how to keep things in order. I'm not saying 100%. I've seen some families amazingly from abroad actually. They build it, they can be creative with it and change it and etc. But they still put it back nicely and they dust it, etc. So the complete work cycle, the child seeing that, then knows. Because if not, you have a child being curious, taking apart a phone, a device, something or other. And you do have those children nowadays, take out your laptop, I know how to fix this, and then they don't know how to put it back. Or bicycle, so on and so on. So, the complete work cycle and everything that you say you do, don't do it halfway. All right, we want to, one of the members of one of the children needs to have a better diet because of the way that he is. So let's learn about it together. A complete work cycle, because you can't say, oh no, you special. It's like in a family, I can eat beef, you cannot eat you need chicken and whatever. How? It's impractical. Some parents might want to go through it, right? Like some parents experimenting, you go to this school, you go to that school, man, can you imagine all the logistics, etc. But they want to go through, they want to see what happens, etc. But then don't give up halfway. Go through the whole thing. That's what you said you wanted to do. Right, so it's true to some way what the guy said.
It sounds like what you're saying, in summary, is that the key to happy life, happy marriage, happy family is just spending time together.
Yeah, I mean, why else did you get married?
Yeah.
You might have careers, etc. Then know of each other and support each other. I mean, I'm not saying it's easier. Said. I mean, it is easier said than done. For the record, I am divorced.
Okay.
We needed to support each other in the ways that we couldn't at the time, and the key for, as you said, for being happy together. If we can have some time that we can still be happy together, no matter what it is. Project together, something to decide for the kids together, etc. Where you can have the snippets, it'll be wonderful. Okay. During the time of the marriage, etc., if you're too busy, okay, you need to question yourself, why did we get married in the first place? Oh, now we have careers. Oh, now we have children. How we still need to meet halfway somehow. And if you had the same feeling you had when you first wanted to get married, without all that, you would go aim for it at least. At least aim for that and show that you try hard. Okay? And if all that still doesn't work for other reasons whatsoever, then try to do it as civilly as possible, as least, what's the word, cushion the impacts for the children, especially when they're younger. Talk to each other more. That's so important, because just because if you're separate the family doesn't mean that your obligations, your responsibilities, your duties, your moralities doesn't mean it reduces. So, and you want your children to grow up good, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Whatever way, they haven't got anyone else to turn out to. They're still maybe different times, etc. And of course, when the communication is there, it's better. When there's difference of opinions, try to have this talk. And all else fails, then go to. I always feel that the law is something like you run to when all things don't work out. It's a bit like saying, Mom, Dad, he did that to me.
Yeah.
But only thing is a bit more complicated. There's costs. There's procedure, there's the legalese, and all that. Do you want to do that? And then in the first place, before you actually go that way, we all don't know it as well. Do you really want to go through that? We want to trot in that direction when you know that possibility is there, And then once you go past the point of no return, you say, okay, let's make up again. Your relationship is different. Are you willing to work on it again? But yeah, at the end of the day, who doesn't want to have a good time?
Definitely. No, in just in closing, I think it'll be great if we could just bring it to this. There are people who, of course, now there are youngsters and all that who want to get married, who may be looking to find their soulmate and all that, who maybe maybe have a wedding tomorrow, perhaps. What's your advice to them? how do they have a successful, prosperous marriage?
Right, that is quite a tall order. Again, pointing out to what you say, we want to make it work, the old school or from the beginning. It's like having a project together. I mean, if you and I go into business together, we want it to be successful, littlest cost, and if it doesn't, minimize the cost when it comes to the end, whatever it is, to make the least impact in a negative way, right? So my advice is basically know what you're going into, okay? Speak to each other as much as possible, communicate, and if you come to a level where you feel that you can't, what's your strategy before you get there, okay? To cause the least amount of negativeness, as you say. The problem happens when the wrong words are said and it brushes up ruffles the feathers, and then it goes off tangent. Okay, you want to know what is your main aim. So if you want to have a wonderful, good life together, serving each other, serving God, serving whoever, whoever else comes in the family, you need to speak to each other. And if you anticipate that some feathers will be ruffled, if possible, like children, give some notice so that the journey will be smoother than it will otherwise turn out to be. Right? Yeah. So, I mean, if you feel for me that you want each other, that's already saying something. Okay, so let that something, that energy, that presence speak to both of you, and talk to each other as if you are almost one. You are an entity, and you know each other so well that it's really difficult to extricate. That's magical. You can't get it.
That is. Thank you so much, Aisha. It's been a very enlightening conversation, I would say.
Thank you.
think I would hope that more conversations like this take place, because I think when I look at the rise in divorce cases, because being a child of divorce, if you will, when my parents 17 years later actually got remarried, so things can, I think perhaps if people, all these couples have figures such as yourself to share these thoughts and share these insights, it may bring down that number way lower.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
So thank you all again for watching. This has been really fun and very enlightening, as I said. A lot of thoughts and a lot of things to take away. And as always, guys, this episode is sponsored by MUZZ. So don't forget to download MUZZ if you're a single Muslim looking to find your life partner. That's the app for you. And as always, please like, share, subscribe, share your comments. And you know what? Have a good night. Take care. Bye.